Yo, what's good everyone? Happy Saturday. Hope y'all are having a great weekend so far. Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite tournament or GPP plays for this Week 7 NFL DraftKings main slate. What I'll do here today is break down a couple of my favorite game stacks, some of my favorite individual plays and stacks, and then wrap up the video with a low-priced option or sub-4K wide receiver play. With that being said, let's dive into my spreadsheet here. And like we always do, we're going to kick things off here in the top left-hand corner with those highest implied game totals. Talked about this in my cash plays video yesterday. Go check that out. Only got one of these games coming in with an implied total of 50 points, but a handful that definitely have some shootout potential. And then I got the highest implied team totals listed behind me there. You can always use that as a reference point as I'm going through some of my favorite tournament plays. With that being said, let's kick it off with a couple of game stacks that I'll be targeting here this week, starting with that game between the Ravens and Browns. I got Lamar stacked up with Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews, running it back there with Amari Cooper. 100% okay running it back there with David Njoku as well, especially if you need that price savings. But I like stacking up the Ravens here, especially against this Browns defense that has not been very good this year. They rank 27th overall in pass DVOA, 30th overall in rush DVOA, so I believe that Baltimore should be able to get out to an early lead in this game, and they're not really in a position to take their foot off the gas either. They're just 3-3 in this division right now, one game ahead of their division rivals, which happen to be the Cleveland Browns, who are sitting at 2-4. So even if they do get out to an early lead here, I think they continue that in the second half, and if I'm going with that strategy or game script theory, then that means the Cleveland Browns will be playing catch-up, needing to throw the ball a little bit more, which is why I like Amari Cooper or David Njoku over someone like Nick Chubb, who is also very expensive. Now, I will say this, Nick Chubb is coming in around 2-3% ownership. When you get a guy who has 25, 30 plus DraftKings point upside at that low ownership, he's got to be in the tournament mix as well. I'm just rolling with the theory that Baltimore gets out to a lead, the Browns are playing catch-up, which is why I like the pass catchers. And then another game stack that I like here this week is that game between the Cowboys and Lions, and this likely will be a popular game to target, has the second highest implied total on this main slate, but it looks like everyone wants to attack this game from the Dallas side of things. With Dak Prescott back, they want to stack him up with CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and or Dalton Schultz, and while I like those pass catchers for the Dallas Cowboys, I also kind of like approaching this game here from the other side of things with the Detroit Lions, who are coming in at much lower ownership. So stacking up Jared Goff here with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Josh Reynolds. Now, Reynolds is listed as questionable, battling a knee injury. It's something he's been battling for a few weeks now, so I do believe he's going to play, but obviously we need to watch that. But assuming he does play, sitting at a really nice price there, $4,700, and then running it back with one of those pass catchers for the Cowboys, whether it be Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, who is projecting to be very popular this week, and or Dalton Schultz, who is very cheap in the 3K range. Hell, you could even mix in someone like Ezekiel Elliott. I don't prefer to go that route because Zeke just doesn't look very good, but that Detroit defense has not been able to stop the run all year long. So again, I like approaching this from the Detroit side. I think people are looking at this Cowboys defense and they're kind of scared off of Detroit. But this Detroit Lions team has put up massive points while playing indoors this year. In the 4 games that they have played indoors, they've scored 24, 35, 36, and 45 points, and they'll be back indoors on Sunday playing in Dallas. Now, folks, before we dive into some of my favorite individual plays and stacks here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. And we're going to kick off some of those individual plays here at the quarterback position. Now, look, everyone, it is pretty rare that I highlight Jimmy Garoppolo as one of my favorite DFS plays, but I'm kind of intrigued not only by the price at $5,500 here, but also the game environment against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I will say that I like this play a lot better if Christian McCaffrey does play. I don't know why he wouldn't. He's already in San Francisco, but their head coach Kyle Shanahan did say that CMC will likely be a game-time decision, but he's a running back. He knows what he needs to do, right? And you didn't trade for this guy to have him sit. he's one of the best running backs in the NFL, and 49ers are not in a position where they can sit their all-stars at this point. So I like him a lot better if CMC does play, but I do believe that he will. And look, he just has so many weapons that he can throw the ball to that are great after the catch, whether it be Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, or now Christian McCaffrey. So yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo, not someone I'm going to highlight all that often, but I am intrigued by the price and the game environment for him this week. Now moving over here to the running backs, and there are a handful of guys that I highlighted in my cash videos yesterday at the running back position that will definitely be in my tournament pool, but I wanted to highlight 3 other guys here, starting with Derrick Henry. Prior to their bye week last week for the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry looked like his old self, scoring 25 plus DraftKings points in 3 straight games, and the last time he played this Colts team, he had 114 rushing yards, 5 targets in that game for damn near 27 DraftKings points. Now they're back at home here. I think that Derrick Henry gets fed the ball a lot in this game, and I don't know if the targets are going to remain true like he's seen in the past 3 games, but if so, I love his upside here once again like we've seen in the past 3 weeks at home against this Colts defense. Next, I got Leonard Fournette there of the Buccaneers, and I think this Buccaneers team could go into Carolina this week and just decimate this Panthers team, which probably doesn't have a lot of confidence going on in that locker room, especially after having traded away their best player in Christian McCaffrey. And Leonard Fournette's a guy that gets involved in all aspects of this Buccaneers offense, so even if Carolina can keep this a tight game, you know he's still going to be in play. And if the Bucs do get out to an early lead in this game and want to run the ball out in the second half, well, Lenny is still going to see volume. This is a guy who's seen 27 rush attempts and 17 targets in his last 2 games. And so again, he's just someone who gets involved in all aspects of this Bucs offense that could score a lot of points against the Panthers this week. And then I got Brian Robinson there of the Washington Commanders. Now I will say this, there is a lot safer value at the running back position this week in the 5 to 6K range with someone like Breece Hall, Dameon Pierce, or even Kenneth Walker. Those guys do have some nice upside. So Brian Robinson is purely a milli maker play for me, but he has a great matchup here at home against the Green Bay Packers, who rank dead last in rush DVOA, and Robinson did see 17 rush attempts last week, and I think that's only going to increase going forward. So at $5,500 here, I don't mind the matchup at all, and we did get the quarterback change this week from Carson Wentz to Taylor Heineke. Very well could see more rush attempts just go his way in general, trying to slow this game down a little bit. So like I said, purely a milli maker play for me, but he is projected around 1 to 2% ownership. I guess it's not crazy to think he could go for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game, as he did find the end zone last week. We then got the wide receivers here, and there's still a lot to like about the wide receiver position this week, but a handful of top-tier wide receivers left off the slate. Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, and Steph Diggs all on bye week this week, but we still have Davante Adams here at the top. He is the most expensive wide receiver on this slate, but $8,700, we could still make that work. Plus, no Darren Waller for the Las Vegas Raiders this week. Hunter Renfrow is banged up. Adams could just be force-fed double-digit targets and maybe even 13-plus targets in this game against the Houston Texans, and those cornerbacks have really struggled against the deep pass this year, and Davante Adams thrives there. Now, I talked about Jimmy Garoppolo. We're probably going to have to stack him up with someone. I like Deebo Samuel here, especially with so much attention on Christian McCaffrey right now. That's not to say that CMC is going to be super over-owned in this game, because I doubt that he will be, assuming that he does play. But Deebo may very well fly under the radar, considering there is so much attention around CMC. And we all know that Deebo has slate-breaking ability. He can go for 25, 30-plus DraftKings points. And I like this matchup here against the Kansas City Chiefs, whose secondary has not been very good this year, just ranking 28th overall in pass DVOA. Now, with these last 2 wide receivers here, I did highlight them in my cash plays video yesterday, but I want to talk about them here quickly again. I do like them in my tournament lineups, especially considering that both very well could come under 10% ownership. First being Allen Lazard here. He now has a 20% target share in this Packers offense. He scored a touchdown in 4 of 5 games. You know Aaron Rodgers is looking his way in the red zone and has a great matchup here against this Commanders defense, who ranked 27th overall against wide receivers this year. And then with Alec Pierce at $4,600, I love his upside at this price. Someone who's just getting more involved in this Colts offense week in and week out. Let's not forget, he's still a rookie wide receiver, receiver, but he's now seen 6, 7, and 9 targets in his past 3 games, and has a great matchup against this Tennessee Titans secondary, who ranked 29th overall in pass DVOA. Next, we got the tight ends here, and I'm just highlighting 2 different tight ends here on this slate. Again, go check out my cash plays video from yesterday. I think there's a lot of value at the tight end position this week in the 3 to low 4K range, but I also don't mind paying up for someone like Mark Andrews, who I highlighted earlier, and or Travis Kelce. I mentioned that Deebo Samuel has slate breaking ability. So does Travis Kelce. In that same game, you could legit roll out a Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel, maybe a Brandon Ayuk stack, and then run it back with Travis Kelce. I know this 49ers defense is pretty damn good, but Kelce can rack up DraftKings points against anybody. We know Mahomes is going to be looking his way, especially in the red zone. And Kelce right now is projected for 6% ownership. Anytime we can get the best tight end in football below 10% ownership, he's going to be in my tournament mix. And then I got Gerald Everett there of the Chargers, who I did talk about in my video yesterday, but I had to highlight him here in my tournament plays as well because he has a smash matchup against the Seattle secondary, who has not been able to stop tight ends all year long and just really hasn't been able to stop much in general. They've allowed 24 DraftKings points per game to opposing tight ends this year, by far the most in the NFL. I think got a few defenses there for you, and I don't mind spending a little extra at the defensive position this week. First being the Buccaneers, who I mentioned earlier, could go into Carolina and just decimate this Panthers team, who are starting PJ Walker once again, don't have their best offensive player in Christian McCaffrey, and they don't want to throw the ball to their wide receivers. I don't know how Carolina is going to score points this week. The Buccaneers very well could rack up a bunch of sacks and turnovers in this game. And you could even do a little running back defensive stack there with Leonard Fournette. Same thing here with the Tennessee Titans. You could do a little running back stack there with Derrick Henry. Their 23% pressure rate should be enough to get to Matt Ryan this week, just like it was back in week 4, where they sacked him 3 times and forced 3 turnovers. And then we got the New York Jets there, who will be very popular this week. But if you do want to spend down at the defensive position, they look like the consensus defense here, and actually just got word as I was recording here that Russell Wilson is not going to play in week 7. So the Jets might even be more popular now, but still a good play if you want to punt here. And as always, going to wrap up this spreadsheet here with a low-priced option or sub 4K wide receiver play. I wanted to go with Paris Campbell here this week, and actually DraftKings has done a very good job of eliminating the value at the wide receiver position in the 3K range here this week. There are a few guys that stuck out to me, but I'm not going to force myself to go below 4K either. However, Campbell is still playing a lot in this Colts offense, actually led all wide receivers in snaps and routes run last week, and saw a season-high 11 targets, so I don't mind that considering the matchup here against this Tennessee Titans defense, who again ranked 29th overall in pass DVOA. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks. Let's win some money on this main slate. In the meantime, I'm out of here.